It's time for number 25 in my series of video game movie reviews, with an adaptation of a game that at the time of the movie's release, nobody was asking for. However, since its release has actually gained a great deal of popularity. The game series, not the movie. Nobody talks about that. Except me. FarCry is brought to us once again by the enigmatic Uwe Boll, and is an adaptation of the original game in the series, which has since spawned off a slew of sequels that have all gained in popularity over the years. We follow Jack Carver. It's a good name. Played by Til Schweiger. Jack is a retired Special Forces soldier who now spends his days on a boat taking people out in the water to do things and stuff. And he also drinks a lot, because that's what you do in these kind of movies when you're retired from Special Forces. You get a boat, you drink a lot, you take people out on the water. I mean, I guess it seems to be a common thread in these kind of movies. One day, Jack is contracted by a hard-hitting journalist named Valerie, played by Emmanuel Vogger, to take her to a secret island where some type of weird secret-y kind of stuff is going on. They're building super soldiers and shit like that there. Jack takes her to the island and, shocker, they get stuck there and have to fight for their lives to figure out what all is actually going on with this super soldier program, and of course thwart the evil, dastardly plans by the evil scientist on the island who's doing all these evil experiments with these super soldiers. Yeah, it's really just an excuse to get our characters somewhere so a lot of shooty bang bang can start happening. FarCry is the 7th video game movie directed by Uwe Boll, and it is not the last. However, it is following a trend in Uwe Boll films up to this point that it is better than his earlier efforts. Now, this isn't a masterpiece or anything by any means, but it is better than his previous efforts. This and his previous 2 films do show a marked increase in quality compared to what he used to do. Once again, not masterpieces, but they are so much better than something like Alone in the Dark or Blood Rain. Woo, those movies are bad. Also, something else this movie has going for it is that it, unlike many of Boll's previous video game movies, actually does share some similarities between the source material. Some. It's not a carbon copy or anything. It is still an adaptation, but it does share some similarities, unlike something like, say, Blood Rain, which had just fuck all nothing to do with what the games were about. Also, the positives just keep on rolling in. The performances here aren't fucking awful. I mean, there's nothing like award-winning or anything here, but for the most part, they're at least okay. There are a couple of characters that are kind of annoying and the performances aren't that great, but for the vast majority of the movie, most of the characters do pretty much what you expect from this kind of movie. It's loads better than what we used to get from him, that's for damn sure. In fact, Til Schweiger and Emmanuel Vogger actually do pretty decent jobs, and they definitely stand above everyone else in the performance department, adding a likability to the movie that it sorely needed. I can't really say that their characters have a whole lot of chemistry or anything. I mean, it's okay, I guess. But individually, their characters are actually likable enough. In fact, Schweiger displays a natural charisma that just makes you kind of like the main character that much more. Udo Kerr's here too, but you know, he's just kind of doing Udo Kerr, and I mean, that's cool. Unfortunately though, our story is just run-of-the-mill, straight-to-video action slop. It adds nothing at all pretty much to anything, much less video game movie. If you weren't a fan before, this movie's not gonna change your mind. There's also a shallow as hell love subplot that's about as throwaway as a snot rag and about as useful as an asshole right here. Fortunately, it goes as quick as it comes and doesn't take up a whole lot of screen time. All in all, the story's pretty fucking shallow and you're not even gonna remember it in a day, and even if you did, there's not really much there to remember. Thankfully though, the movie at least does look pretty good, and most of the effects and stunts are practical. The limited amount of CGI that is here is for the most part fine, but there is one scene in particular where it seems like they overextended themselves a bit with a helicopter crash. That just looked like shit and you should have just cut it out. But everything else CGI wise looks okay, and the practical stuff actually looks pretty good, especially the stunts. I mean, this ain't the Raid 2 or anything, but it looks decent enough, and the practical nature of it all makes it look all that much more better. All that being said though, I don't really know why this movie was made. I mean, at the time, Far Cry wasn't the most popular property or anything, and it doesn't seem like there's a tremendous amount of passion behind this story. Regardless if the quality of the movie is higher than we're used to getting from this director, it doesn't change the fact that it still just seems like it's kind of a waste of time. I mean, it's obvious that there's just nothing going on here. There's no passion for this project. At least with his previous 2 movies, regardless of what you thought of them, you could tell that he actually cared about them and was really trying and had a story he wanted to tell. Here, even though the quality is better, it is a lot like those earlier films in that the movie just seems kind of throwaway and pointless. That's unfortunate because at this point, it seems like Uwe Boll is getting better, at least at the technical side of his craft. I said better. Guys, at the end of the day, Far Cry is definitely an improvement to Boll's earlier work in the technical department. However, unfortunately, with this one, it seems like he took a bit of a step back to his earlier work because narratively, it is devoid of any passion or excitement. It's just not very exciting at all, and there's not much of a point to watch it. I mean, it's not a total bore, I'll give it that, but a lot of that is due to our 2 leads' likability and charisma. And even with that, the movie just doesn't have much going for it. While it's not a total dumpster fire or anything, it would be almost worth a stream for some. But as it stands, Far Cry is really only worth checking out on USA Up All Night.
It's not worth it!
Hi, I'm Gilbert Godfrey.
Hi, it's Miranda on USA.
It's okay. It's just not worth it!
This isn't like a total disaster or anything, and it's technically sound, but there's just not much of anything going on here. But I guess one night if you're just looking for some truly throwaway action and you like Far Cry, then check this one out. So there it is, guys, my review of Far Cry. If you enjoyed, want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Rook Islands. Last week, at the end of my video game movie review of Postal, I looked and said, okay, what's next on the video game movie review list? And I said that it was going to be Max Payne. Clearly, I was incorrect. Color me surprised when I noticed, no, it's not Max Payne, it's actually Far Cry. However, next week on the video game movie review list is Max Payne. For real this time. I checked twice. So incoming next week, Marky Mark and Slow-Mo. For real this time.